This is Greg Troutwine with Maritime Reporter TV, and we're very pleased to be joined today by Knut Urbeck Nielsen and Fenna Vandermeer,
Yes.
DNV GL, soon to be just DNV, with the introduction of the white paper, Closing the Safety Gap in an Era of Transformation. What is the reality on the street? And by that, I mean, obviously, the very large, the very well-funded, the global leaders will have the financial resources and the wherewithal to invest in this transformation. But as you know, the majority of this industry is not very large. And given the sporadic economics of shipping, how reasonable is it to expect that ship owners are going to fund decarbonization, digitalization, and safety all at the same time?
Problem really is shipping is a fragmented industry, maybe one of the most fragmented transportation industries, and many ship owners have been through a period with really low returns, if any at all. So to be able to manage the transition from the charts that I showed today show that 99% of the existing fleet is running on heavy fuel oil. So to converge in any great sense from that starting point into a decarbonized future is really a significant challenge in its own. And as we know, it is difficult to find good solutions for the existing fleet. You can do quite a bit with energy efficiency, but it will eventually lead you along the path to ever slower steaming speed. And at one point in time, it will make you unattractive as a vessel to be transporting goods. So the challenge is then building with keeping safety, keeping competence level with the seafarers, managing the digital transformation all at the same time. So that is why we put a lot of emphasis in this paper on collaboration. And it probably came out during the press brief that collaboration is really a central element. It's something, at least when it comes to safety, that nobody is really interested in competing on safety. I mean, it is a thing that we as a company, it's our purpose, safety at sea, and we are very open to sharing our knowledge with industry, with regulators, with the other classification societies on the safety aspects. And that's where we really believe that to help all of these smaller ship owners, it has to be sort of a collective effort. And that is the only way to get a fragmented industry to move. You have to do, say, a collective effort.
If I can just add to that, I think one thing to highlight is that it shouldn't be an either or discussion. It's not investing in digitalization and decarbonization and safety, but it's investing in digitalization and safety by means of looking or incorporating the safety related risks and whatever is necessary to tackle those safety related risks. If you think that investing in safety is a lot in the design and engineering, try a major accident. So that's kind of pushing us as well as an industry, incentivizing us to spend time and spend money on safety, because if you do it early on in the design process, then you will really make a big difference in the likelihood that it could lead to unwanted incidents and events.
During your presentation, you specifically mentioned that Maritime, and again, I'm paraphrasing here, obviously, that Maritime traditionally keeps its cards close. What specifically do you propose to get these maritime companies out of their silos?
Yeah, good question. I think when we're talking about we're encouraging the industry to collaborate, I'm not saying give away your expertise or share share your kind of IP with competitors. What I'm saying is use your expertise, stay true to it, and share what it is necessary to build a complete holistic risk picture. So I think that's what's key here. Don't work in silos and draw conclusions just on that specific area that one might be working in, be it a piece of technology or a specific service, but stay true to that service and that expertise and use it in collaborative situations, like in joint industry projects, like in joint development projects, where an overarching party, like a system integrator, keeps a bird's eye view and is like the spider in the web to make sure that all of these pieces of expertise, which was so important to make this technology work and these transformations to happen, to make them talk to each other, so that for example, sensors communicate with each other, but so that also those responsible for design understand how their design influences operations in the end. So we need this umbrella, a specific role that enables us to collaborate across each of these areas of expertise.
I know in the maritime industry, we often discuss emulating the airline industry.
Yeah.
Do you see this level of, is there a case that you can point to where, wow, this industry, they work more collaboratively together for the overall good?
The example that I would give is my experience based on the Norwegian oil and gas industry. There, when they develop and they design a new platform, they have in their regulations the importance of a multidisciplinary team of engineers. So you have the architects, the system integrators, you have the automation experts, but you also have human factors experts involved in that, all with the intention of sitting around the table, opening up discussion, working in terms of barrier management as well, which is very common in the Norwegian oil and gas industry, as a tool to make risks more explicit so that every stakeholder can play their part in identifying the risk mitigating controls, and so that nothing ends up in between two chairs, so that everything is as much as possible picked up as early in the design process as possible. So that to me is a very good example of how each stakeholder works together to bring about or to create such a complex asset with complex operations that are tested and verified to the maximum extent as possible.
Okay.
Greg, if I can just add a small comment. So on the shipping side, we have this green shipping program in Norway. It started in Norway. It's a private-public, say, cooperation. And it is gaining a lot of international attention and international participants these days. And one of the releases they just had, and they are basically trying to pilot new things, and especially then green technology. So in this case, just recently, it launched a guidance on the use of ammonia as a fuel. And I think this is a perfect example that it doesn't make sense for a select few ship owners to try to use ammonia as fuel and thereby have a competitive advantage, because it's all about infrastructure, availability, and price, and all of these aspects will naturally then encourage a much wider uptake for it to be attractive. So releasing this as a joint effort by the industry is sharing the information that is needed to manage using that type of fuel from a safety aspect. And then all the other things, commercial, etc., will be additional challenges that naturally the industry will have to work with. But there's no point in sort of trying to get a competitive edge on the safety aspects. And the same goes with battery and fires in batteries. To be able to control that in a good sense, it's in everybody's interest. Otherwise, regulations will be on the conservative side, and we will have, say, less benefit on the energy efficiency side of using hybrid solutions on board the vessels.
a tripling of the market, it's fair to assume that you're going to get a lot of new technology. You've already seen a lot of new technology companies enter the market that are not maritime companies. What is the role of class to ensure that they do more good than harm?
Yeah, no, I think with say most of the safety related systems, assuming that many of these new players and the new investments will say address safety related systems on board, it's naturally for class to ensure that they meet the relevant requirements, that the effects of being on board a vessel, dealing with the natural environment, etc., is all say taken care of, and that some of the basics concerning integrity, way of communicating with the crew and the operators that Fenna talked about. I mean, these are things where classification can provide insight and knowledge to help them manage the gap to enter into the marine environment. And then naturally it will be, say, in most cases, the owners themselves, or the bigger system integrators like the Kongsbergs, the Wärtsiläs, etc., that will use different parts of to integrate into the whole. So I think if you want to be a supplier to the maritime industry, you really have to integrate with the maritime players, whether those are the owners, the shipyards, or the manufacturers of components and systems. And naturally, overall would be, as it always has been, to make sure that whatever comes on board and is safety related meets the requirements of the rules. And if you don't have rules, we will apply risk principles. So, and this is down Fenna's alley, so maybe you would like to add some viewpoints, Fenna.
Yeah, no, you've already touched upon a lot of areas there as well. But I think what's incredibly important here is to also talk about more function-based rules, so not just the prescriptive side of things, because that really locks us into technology as it stands today. But with these transformations, there's so much change and such a high pace of development in these technologies that we need to open up for more function-based rules that look into kind of what are we actually wanting to achieve in our risk assessments? What kind of safety levels are we looking for, and how are the different stakeholders going to meet these safety levels? So I think there's a lot of room for development in that as well, that could really strengthen the developments in safety levels in the future systems.